Today we have Professor O.R.S. Rao, who is the Vice Chancellor for IFA University. A brief introduction of the sir. So, Professor O.R.S. Rao is 1972 mechanical engineering pass out from IIT Madras. Then he went on to get PG diploma in industrial engineering from NITI Mumbai. He has 40 plus years of rich experience in industry, academics, and applied research. He has received a number of awards of excellence in educational leadership, including Golden Aim Visionary Vice Chancellor Award. We welcome you, sir, to College Dunia. So let's start. Starting with the interview, my first question is: you have held key positions at education institutes throughout your professional career. What are the key factors that keep you connected with the educational sector?
No, very good morning to you, Mr. Adi Chaudhary. I thank you very much, for taking some time to interact with me and so that we can discuss various areas of interest for the education and also for the students. After having sort of gone to IIT for my BTech and also MBA in NITI, sort of both of them are premier institutes. And after that, I was fortunate to work in the industry for over 27 years, working in reputed companies like HCL Technologies, where I rose to the level of Executive Vice President. Then I was with the JMR Group, where I was the CEO for one of their group companies. And I was also with Cient. They are into the CAD-CAM. There also I was at the level of the Executive Vice President. I worked both India and abroad. And as a part of my job, one of the most important things is recruiting people and recruiting talent. So those days, one, of course, I used to visit various education institutions, like as an invited speaker for the various, seminars and conferences, and also guest lectures. Apart from that, I used to interview a lot of students. And I realized that, there is a huge gap between the industry's expectations from the students and you can say the competence of the students. When I say competence, I don't mean simply capability, it is the knowledge levels and also the skill levels. There is a huge gap. So that is when, I realized that, yes, after some time, after 27 years, what I thought is, sort of enough is enough in the corporate world, both India and abroad. So then I thought, let me do something like, some kind of a service to the society. More than the service to the society, I thought that, it is a matter of, a satisfaction for me, myself, doing something for the kind of students. Because of that, I decided to move into the education. And it is more than, 18 years back, I have moved into this. And, I have been with the IFA group for all the last more than 18 years. And as a part of my stint here, I set up business schools for the group. And I also set up, an applied research and consulting, unit for the group. And now I'm the Vice Chancellor for the IFA University, Jharkhand. Apart from that, I'm on the boards of, 4 universities. And also I'm on the governing board of the Association of Indian Universities, that is the apex body as far as the university are concerned. I think that's where I come from. And I'm really enjoying it. And I'm able to sort of contribute a lot. Because sitting on the industry side, it's always, easy to pass a comment or make this critical remark saying that what education is not doing. But sitting onto the education side, now I understand what are the issues, challenges, and on how to make my aspirations come true. That's what.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. That answers a lot. So my next question is: being the Vice Chancellor for IFA University, what is your philosophy of leadership? How would you describe your leadership style?
See, essentially, because I worked in the industry and also in education, I have seen the difference. Sort of in the industry, typically what happens is, starting from the CEO downwards, everybody drives the entire organization for results. And typically they are all tangible results. But there is a kind of a set hierarchy into the industry. And whereas if you take in the education, like particularly in our university, we have got multiple disciplines, and we have got multiple people that are coming, faculty members. They are all highly qualified and highly experienced people in their own domain. And here, yes, I need to respect all of them, every one of them, and because none of us can claim that we know something better than them. They're all the experts in the field. So, but at the same time, while we have got expertise in specific domains and specific areas, as a team, we are all accountable to deliver quality education to our students. Now, our customer is the student. We need to deliver quality education to our students. And when I say quality education, ultimately, we need to groom them into successful professionals. Whatever they want, whether they want to do a job or they want to become an entrepreneur or whatever, and do that. And also, besides that, as a university, unlike an engineering college or a business school, the universities must produce intellectual output in terms of the research and publications. That's the hallmark of a university when compared with a business school or engineering college. So this being the case, I put together the key performance areas, and these key performance areas are made known, starting with our deans, heads of departments, and all the faculty members. And I sort of put together a strategy and sort of a visional strategy for the university, and we give the key performance areas to the people. And after that, I don't interfere with them. And after that, we have a regular review meetings to see where they are. And whosoever is performing very well, we motivate them in terms of giving them promotions and giving them sort of a certificates of achievement. And whosoever is not performing all that well, who is the average, instead of, we don't say that you don't have a place in the university. We counsel them, we build up the competence so that we want to take all the people along with us, And ultimately, my track record in our listing is, till date, we haven't asked anybody to go. Unless somebody has sort of left by himself, we never asked anybody to go, Because we are able to empower our faculty members, we are able to counsel them, we are able to make them perform better. And as an individual myself, coming from the industry, the advantage for me is, I'm accessible to all the people. In the university environment I have seen, in most of the universities, the vice chancellor sits in an ivory tower. He sits in a chamber and he has got, all the, nobody can enter his chambers, and without this thing. Whereas in my case, I got an open office. Be it a faculty member, be it a student, or be it a parent, or anybody, can walk in. Maybe sometimes, if somebody else is there, maybe ask them to wait. Other than that, it's an open office. And nowadays, in the COVID-19 situation, it's not, somebody walking in like that. Sort of, if somebody can barge in, on a telephone call or a WhatsApp message, or SMS or email. I get lots of mails, lots of WhatsApp calls, I take all of them and I respond, whether it is, a 24/7. That's my style of working. And that has worked well. So that helps to work as a team. It's not that I'm the boss and all of us are working. In fact, we are all, as a team, we are all working for a common purpose. The common purpose is the students and how to groom the students. That is what we're doing.
Yes, sir. That explains a lot, and that is really great.
And you sent a mail to me a couple of days back. And normally my mails, they don't go through my PA at all. I see the mails directly and respond to them, maybe at 11:30, 11:40 I responded to you and, तुरंत आप ये reply किए थे. So I think that's how I work.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's great. So my next question is, being the VC of ICFI University, how do you strategize about the key programs and plan for the marketing administration of your school or the university that you are into?
Good. That's a very good question. See, as a university, when compared to the business schools, engineering colleges, or the law colleges, the characteristic of a university is the breadth and depth. That means that, we need to have, programs, into multiple disciplines. And we also need to have programs into the multiple teams. That means that undergraduate programs, postgraduate programs, and the PhD programs. So as a university, in our university, we have right now, we have got a management discipline, we have got an engineering and science and technology discipline, IT discipline, then we have got a law discipline. Currently, we are offering programs, in 4 disciplines. And, in these disciplines, we are offering the undergraduate programs like a BBA, BCA, BTech kind of programs. We offer the postgraduate programs like a MBA, MCA. And we also have got a PhD program. Currently, our PhD program is in the management. And having said that, like if you look at, a market segment, one market segment is the fresh students. Sort of, they want to build a career. And apart from that, another important market segment is the working professionals. Working professionals, it could be somebody like you. Like, in fact, you have done, some qualification, you are sort of working. But, you want to improve yourself on a continuous basis. So this being the case, there is something called, a continuous, improvement and, a lifelong learning. And in this area, we offer the programs for our working professionals. And these programs, like in fact, we have got a law program, LLB program, and there working professionals can do that. And there we go as per the regulations of the Bar Council of India with regard to the timings. Then we have got a MBA program for the working professionals, and these programs, it's a full-time program, but as per the convenience of the students. And we also have got a part-time PhD program in management, and that is the most sought after program in the country today. That is considered to be one of the best programs, in India today. So with the result, people coming from industry, like, starting with the IBMs and TCS, Cognizant, banks, all of them, then Army, all of them, they do our PhD program to that. So then after having said that, sort of considering that, we are in Jharkhand, we would like to offer the programs, as per the sort of a current environment there. The Jharkhand is a land of mines. So this being the case, our university, we have got a lot of focus on mining. We are one of the very few universities that have got a focus on mining. Even among the ICFI group also, ours is the only university that focuses on mining. And so much so the universities in Jharkhand also, they don't focus on mining, excepting for ISM Dhanbad and a couple of others into that. ISM now it has become IIT. So now, as far as the mining is concerned, we offer, a diploma program, a polytechnic program in mining, and we also offer a BTech program in mining. And that is a kind of a program and discipline we have been nurturing for quite some time. And wherein, like we get good quality students, and all of them, like we give them very good industry exposure, and they get very good jobs to that. Then the second one is, in terms of the technology. The today kind of, if you take the IT, IT kind of, it offers huge opportunities. Like particularly cutting edge technologies like, take artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, and, cloud computing, and all of them, they've got huge opportunities. So keeping this in mind, in fact, earlier, like as a part of our BTech Computer Sciences, we were offering, some of these things as the specializations. Starting this year, we are offering a BTech in Data Sciences and Artificial Intelligence. It's a highly focused program into that, because that is where I anticipate, lots of opportunities in terms of the jobs and in terms of the entrepreneurship into that. Then the third thing is, like, the agriculture. In fact, India continues to be agri-economy. And in the agriculture, lots of modernization is taking place, and that is going to be huge opportunities. So there, like, we are not sort of getting into something like agriculture as a technology, agri-business management. That is an area where the government of India is also putting a lot of focus. Lots of investments are happening, like into the kind of FPOs, 10,000 FPOs they are setting up. Government is spending lakhs of crores into that. So there, we have got to focus on the kind of agriculture kind of business management, and particularly with regard to the digital agriculture. In fact, last month we started, a certificate program and the digital agriculture management. We got huge response because it's an online program. We got people coming from all over the country. They're all working professionals. And similarly, another area is with regard to healthcare. The COVID-19 has opened up lots of opportunities for the healthcare. So starting this year in our MBA, BBA, everywhere, particularly for the MBA, we are offering the agribusiness management and the healthcare management as the specializations and electives. And this way what we do is we identify the target markets, the contemporary target markets, and for each of our programs and market them accordingly. We look at what are the kind of candidates that are that are looking for these kind of programs, and we build the concerned USPs for them and we market. That's what we do.
Thank you so much, sir, for that. Now, how does the curriculum of the FI University that ensure that they are into the best practices of the industry?
Yeah. So that's a very kind of pertinent question, considering that when we see that the employability levels of students are going down. So the curriculum and the mode of delivery, they have to be commensurate with what the industry expectations are there. So most of the programs offered by our university, they are all professional programs. We got very few programs which are stable programs into that. So after this program, the graduating students, they aspire to get a good job. And that is sort of a very natural into that. So keeping this in mind, what we do is, every year we study the technology trends, and we also look at what is happening in the kind of industry and what are these industry's requirements. On the basis of that, we sort of look at how the kind of curriculum has to change so that it becomes very contemporary into that. So there sort of one aspect is with regard to the kind of various the courses what we bring in. Like as I mentioned, if you take something like the area of the management, what we have seen is typically what is happening is the management is becoming more of an interdisciplinary. Today, in fact, technology is pervading into management. Like, in fact, if it is something like a fintech, because if you take 5 years back, fintech was unheard of. A digital marketing was unheard of. Something like, what you call digital HR was unheard of into that. Now, in management, we have to offer this kind of, the disciplines into that elective. So what we have done was now things like, maybe, a digitally enabled disciplines we have kind of identified. Like as I mentioned, a fintech, digital marketing, digital HR, some of these things, they were incorporated into the functions into that. Apart from that, another thing that is happening is a digital transformation of business is the new buzzword. Today, if you look at all the IT companies in India today, most of the kind of projects what they are getting digital, they are all digital transformation of business. It is not just pure technology alone into that, and how kind of a digital kind of technologies change the industry and how we operate the business into that. So what we have done was a digital transformation of business. We made it as a compulsory course into every one of our programs. Be it a BBA program, be it a BCA program, be it an MBA program, everywhere. Earlier, we used to have something like an enterprise resource planning, maybe 5-10 years back. That was only one element of technology. But here in the digital transformation of business, we look at various aspects into that. This is one part of it as far as the curriculum is concerned. The second thing that is happening is, like COVID-19, while it has caused a lot of havoc, it has thrown up lots of opportunities. What has happened is entire mahal, the entire work environment has become digital. So with the result, starting with something like teaching, learning onwards. Today, the students, when they graduate and go to the kind of a company, they have to work in a digital environment. Today, the companies are specifically asking, they are saying that we want to have a digitally ready students. They are not sort of job ready. 5 years back, they used to say job ready or employment ready. Today, they are asking for a digitally ready. So keeping this in mind, what we have done was a digital skills, we made it as a compulsory course. It starts in the first semester itself. For all the students, one, they should know on how to use technology for learning. Second is on how they must use the technology for their own job itself. So in line with that, what we are doing is for our students, when we have got live projects and various things, all of them are happening digitally. So we are able to get them. So this is another thing sort of what we brought in, so that the student feels very comfortable starting with learning, doing the projects, and in the end today all the interviews are happening online. So it's Bachelo must know how to attend the interview, not even that on how to present his CV. It's not like in the earlier days into that. So this is another thing, we brought in a transformation, what I call it as a digital transformation of education. When we are talking of digital transformation of industry and business, I should transform myself and my own kind of line of working into that. I think this is something sort of what we have been doing, and we have arranged for online or virtual kind of live projects. Not even that, for our sort of particularly if we take our BTech program and also diploma program and our IT program, there's a lot of practical skills required. There, what we have done was, now we have got virtual laboratories and workshops. We have got a tie-up with IIT Delhi for the virtual labs. With the result, as a part of our curriculum, our students, they do not sacrifice their learning with regard to the workshops and labs. They go through a virtual workshop into that. These are all the kind of things what we have done. Let me tell you some of these things what we have done. They became the best practices for the rest of the industry. Not even that. In fact, as a matter of fact, we built a kind of a platform for our online learning. And that is being emulated by a lot of others. It is called Swadhyay. Swadhyay Digital Learning Management System Platform. We designed and implemented that. That's what. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. So, when you first came to ICFA University, what was your vision for the university? Has it evolved over time, and how far along in implementation that vision are you?
See, when I joined the ICFA University, at that point of time, the university was offering only 4 programs: a BBA, BCA, BTech, MBA in 2 disciplines. That's all. That is 3 undergraduate programs and sort of a 1 PG program. And so what I have done was I said, this is very narrow. So we wanted to sort of broaden that. And now we are offering 18 programs in 4 disciplines and multiple days, as I explained. Sort of that is one thing that we brought in, so that, like in fact, ultimately our customer, that is the student, must have a choice. The students that may be interested, like in fact somebody wants to make a career in management, somebody wants to go into IT, somebody else into a technology, or somebody else into law. So for every one of them we are giving a choice. So because of that, we got a range of programs what we have. The second thing, what I had done was the industry interface got strengthened, by leaps and bounds. And with the result, sort of today, we have got types and partnerships with reputed companies like Larsen & Toubro and with the Bosch. Bosch is a kind of a multinational in terms of as far as the automotive is concerned. With the Bosch, we have got a tie-up where a center of excellence was set up by Bosch in our university. They made the investment into that. And I would say the only university in the eastern region where the Bosch has set up a center of excellence into that. And that is something that throws open doors, not only for our students, and this is something that we are leveraging it, sort of to give opportunities in the entire region and area. Sort of the other students also kind of, they can make use of our center of, excellence into that. Then yet another thing is, deployment of technology, adoption of technology into the education. Because typically the education has been a laggard with regard to deployment of technology. That is where, like, considering that, I worked in the IT industry for more than, 25, 27 years, I was able to bring in that kind of a technology into education. And that is another unique thing, because I understand what the technology can do and how the technology deployment can be implemented. That's where, I was able to kind of, instrumental in designing a kind of in-house, a kind of a digital learning management system platform called the Swadhyay. wherein today we have got more than 3,500 pieces of digital content, be it PPTs, videos, case studies in our Swadhyaya platform, into various disciplines into that. And our students have benefited by that, into that, And, and another thing what we have done was, with regard to the research and publications. And, in a short time, we have we got, a 31 PhDs we have awarded. And in the areas, that are relevant for the industry, society in our own region, into that. We're into education itself, into the CSR, safety in schools, this kind of areas what we have taken for the research into that. Yet another thing is outreach. In terms of the outreach, like it is important that, we need to have adopted, some kind of a villages, around our, campus. And we are doing a lot of social service for them. And that is an area that brings us, close to the society where we are into that. We are able to do a lot of service to them. As far as the society is concerned, for the students, we conduct remedial classes. They are all students that go to the government schools. We donate books to them. And during the COVID-19 times, what we call as a Sukha ration, we distributed to hundreds of families in more than 10 villages there. And we taught them, on how to make use of the COVID-19 precautions, starting with wearing a mask and distancing. And for the villages, we give, a free legal aid because we got a law department into that. These are the various things what we have done. So what we have done, what I have done in the last a few years has been, just like we talk of, all-round development of the students. It's an all-round development of the university from the various perspectives.
Thank you so much, sir. That was great. And all the initiatives were great, actually. And my next question is, what do you think should be the ICFI University's top priority over the next 10 years?
The next 10 years, if I look at the perspective of the industry and how the industry is changing and how the job opportunities are changing, one thing that is coming out very clear is, so far, the industries have been into certain specific silos, and also the functions and the kind of jobs also have been into some functional domains, and that is changing. With the result, what is happening is the kind of the areas where more and more jobs are coming up are going to be the interdisciplinary areas. Like as I mentioned in the case of management, whatever changes are happening, the same change is happening in the industry also. See, like for instance, you take in terms of the mining. Mining so far earlier, most of the jobs used to be at an operational level, like a miner or a technology level. More and more the jobs in the mining, they are going to be happening in the mine management and technology deployment in mining. In fact, as you are aware, particularly the mining industry is going through radical changes. The government of India has liberalized, and a lot of foreign players are getting into the mines in India. Licenses are being thrown open. With the result, the multinational companies like BHP from Australia or others, when they come into India, they are going to bring a lot of technology into areas like mining. So more and more of the jobs in the mining, they are not going to be entry level and what you call pure play, what you call jobs in the mines. They are going to be more of a technology management jobs. Similarly, if we take in the agri-business, there again the jobs are not going to be pure agriculture. They are going to be jobs understanding agriculture, technology and management into that, marketing into that. Likewise, a digital transformation kind of a jobs into various industries. And cybersecurity kind of a thing. So considering that, we want to introduce programs, we want to groom professionals so that they're successful in this kind of interdisciplinary kind of roles. But this kind of a thing, while we made a beginning in having the industry tie-ups, we need to have more and more industry tie-ups, and we need to have more intense collaboration with the industry. Because, India industry, is far ahead of the academics. And we need to know what they are doing and how we can incorporate them into that. Fortunately for us, when we are having the programs for the working professionals, like our MBA working professionals and our PhD program, in our for the working professional, there indirectly we are in touch with the industry. They are all the kind of, our students are working in the industry in senior positions. Like some of them are working at the level of, CEOs, or CEO of the Jammu and Kashmir Bank, Executive Vice President HDFC Bank, IBMs and Infosys, this kind of a thing. So they, on one hand, they are working in the industry, they are also our students. So that is something that is helping us to have a continuous interaction with them. Similarly, we are putting in conscious efforts to have a lot more interaction with the industry. And we have set up some centers of excellence. We are in the process of setting up some more centers of excellence. See, for instance, if we take something like in the mechanical engineering, today, for the past something like more than a century and odd, if you talk of in the automotive engineering, the entire automotive engineering was based on the kind of so-called the IC engines, internal combustion engines, which use either petrol or the diesel. Now there's a dramatic shift that is happening. The electrical vehicles, they are coming in a big way. If you take a country like China, they have already got something like more than something like 40 million vehicles are electrical vehicles. In India also, all the kind of manufacturing, they're shifting to the electrical vehicles. In fact, as a matter of fact, in our own kind of university, we have started this year, we are starting, kind of a new branch called, electrical vehicles. We take, mechanical engineering, when that electrical vehicles is a specialized this thing, we built a lot of expertise into that. We have got a PhD from IIT Kanpur. He has done pioneering work in that area into that. So that way, like in the future, like in the electrical vehicles starting with the technology management of that offers a huge opportunity. That is something that we are working on. That is where we are gaining up itself. And in fact, we conducted various seminars on the electrical vehicles. We are planning to set up a center of excellence for the electrical vehicle technology. And these are certain areas we are working into that. We are all cutting edge kind of a technology areas. We are also setting up an innovation and incubation center so that, like so far we are so proud that every year, at least 10 to 12% of our students, they become entrepreneurs. People, generally they don't expect that to come from, regions like an Eastern region, whereas our students are doing a very good job. We want to have more and more entrepreneurship coming up, particularly in the emerging technology areas and cutting technology areas. These are the kind of priorities that we have got for the next 10 years. And maybe on the entrepreneurship, from 10%, it is to scale up to at least 20%. Because somebody must become, boss of his own. And he should become, an employer rather than an employee. These are our aspirations.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So my next question is, what are some of the biggest challenges you see both for the higher education in general and for IFFI universities specifically?
In fact, the government of India under the leadership of our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, they have brought in the kind of a new education policy 2020. In my view, that is going to be a game changer. So for the future, for the entire, education in India, starting with, a school education going up to the higher education and the kind of vocational education, that is setting a tone for the new changes into that. And in terms of something like, bringing in more of the liberal arts into that, bringing in the various kind of entry and exit points for the students into that, and bringing in education closer to the industry into that. These are all the various new things that are coming up. And now it is up to the education to gear up itself to deliver that, to implement the new education policy 2020. And if you want to do that, the first thing is, maybe the entire, the education, we may have to review and relook at, our kind of a vision, mission and strategies. And they cannot be the same old things. It is not an incremental thinking. It has to be something lateral, and it has to be something like, a thinking of, higher magnitude into that. That is the first thing in terms of the thinking, strategizing itself. Then the second thing is, the challenges wise, sort of a country as a whole, we got, very good kind of a competent, faculty. But at the same time, as far as the education is concerned, still we are unable to attract very good quality and competent people into the as the faculty members. So no doubt we are getting qualified people. As I mentioned, looking at the next 10 years, if you want to build kind of professional to meet the challenges of the industry, we need to have more and more faculty members coming with the industry experience. So that is a kind of a challenge that is there unless we do that. Because as such, what happens is, maybe the faculty members, they are excellent academically, they are very good. But ultimately, we must be able to bridge the gap between the industry and this thing. In my case, it is unique. I'm one of the very few that was able to kind of get from the industry to the academia. So this kind of a thing, we need more and more people coming into that. Because, there is a divide today. Like, in fact, maybe, the industry people, somewhere, some level of reluctance is there. Maybe in terms of the salaries, in terms of the work environment or whatever into that, I think that's a challenge that has to come into that. And the sort of, the other sort of a challenge that is there is the COVID-19. The COVID-19, when it came in, people thought that it would go away in 2020. We thought that, after all, we all wished and prayed to God. And we all kind of rang bells and did bhajans and we did hardly so many things we did. But it's not going away. And it has come in a new avatar called the second wave. And now, on one hand, like the entire education has to adapt itself, to a new normal. That's a challenge for the entire education. Second thing is, the COVID-19 is affecting the industry and the economy per se. So, in fact, we have seen the manufacturing industry, in fact, it has sort of taken a beating into that. So, with the result, even before that, like, there have been issues and challenges with regard to the employment of the BTech students. In the engineering, core engineering jobs are not there. So, this being the case, I think that is something we have to address. Unless good quality jobs are there, students, where do they go? They complete this, after that, maybe some of them, they go for higher education. In fact, as a matter of fact, we are seeing a change in the trend. Like earlier, our BBA, BCA students, a lot of them, they used to go for higher education. This I'm telling you about 2 years back. 2020 and 21, we have seen a lot of BBA and BCA students, they want to get into a job. And we were able to get them very good jobs for the BBA and BCA as far as we are concerned. But that is going to be a challenge in terms of that. Getting jobs, economy must do well so that good jobs are there. And on the other hand, getting, a good competent faculty members, is another thing. I think that has to work out. These are the two major challenges, as I see, that applies everywhere. And also the third thing I may so say is, like in terms of the technology adoption, particularly if we are talking of, today if you want to give a digital education, in India, there is a digital divide. If you take between the metros and urban and rural areas, if you take our kind of our region, a lot of students, they come from the kind of towns and small villages. For them, if they have to attend the classes, using their mobiles, they have the mobile, but there's an internet bandwidth problems. So this kind of infrastructure is something that is going to be sort of one of the challenges. Despite these things, how do you deliver a quality education using technology? I think that is a challenge for every one of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So my next question is, what do you see as ICFA University's greatest strength?
I'm sorry, I didn't get you.
What do you see ICFA University's greatest strength?
Okay, good. See, the strength of our university, one of the major strengths is, our, the coming from the top, like our kind of a motto of the entire ICFA group has been Meritum Ethicus. That means that we believe that education means education works on two legs, the merit and ethics. And our university also, our motto is grooming professionals with values. That means that yes, we need to have competent professionals with good knowledge and good skills and all that is fine. Apart from that, good character. Sort of keeping this in mind, number one is the strength of our kind of a university and our group is, our vision and our values, starting from the top itself. These are the guiding principles for the entire organization. So with the result, all our employees and faculty members, right from the beginning when they come, sort of they're convinced and they're committed to that kind of a vision and the kind of a mission of the university. And they're all the people with good values. And similarly, the students, what we bring in also, sort of that is something we percolate down. So one of the most important things what we do is, apart from the education, like we want to build a good character. And this kind of a thing, that is one of the strengths. Because there are very few others, in the kind of education that believe that character building is important. Because coming from the kind of, the land of, the Swami Vivekananda, so what we believe is, the education has to be kind of a man-making education. That is where, that is one of our strengths into that. So that, particularly coming from the eastern region, it's all the more important into that. For most of our students, they come from, lower middle class families, just middle class families. Some of them are the first generation university students. Their parents have not gone there at all into that. So this being the case, I think character building is something that is one of the strengths that we have. Second is we have got highly committed faculty members. Sometimes it's easy to get qualified and experienced people, faculty members. To get faculty members with the commitment is not easy. We are very fortunate to have very committed sort of a faculty members. Sort of these faculty members get committed to the university, committed to the goals of the university, and some of them have been with us for the past more than 10 years into that. They understand this thing what we do in terms of. The third thing is we have got a very good industry interface. Partly maybe because of my background, because I came from the industry, I believe that industry interface is very, very critical. So we understand the entire organization believes that we have got a very good industry interface. And another thing is that is where we are able to build up the relationships with industry like L&Ts and Bosch and NCDEX and IITs, all that we are able to do. And another thing is we have got very good processes. Because ultimately, organizations and education institutions, in my belief, you need two things. You need very good people and very good processes. And, if you've got good processes, whether somebody there or not, it should run. But it doesn't mean that you run without the person. So that means that, an organization runs very well and delivers the value when very good people drive good processes. Processes don't drive people. Good people must drive the processes. When that is there, like in fact, we take our university and the ICFA system, for everything we got a good process. It's not ad hoc at all into that. Starting with admission, going up to academic delivery, examination, calendar into that. So that way, COVID and no COVID, examinations are held on time, results come on time. So those are the process that deliver in terms of that. So we don't take excuse saying that, COVID because of that, nothing of that sort happens. So these are the strengths that we have that make us.
Yes, sir. Yes, I completely understand. What are some of the plans that you are currently or will be designing for the ICFA University International Affairs, or for the students or faculty members?
See, as for the international is concerned, to be kind of very honest with you, for us, the Indian market itself is bigger up. And if you take our, the catchment market, if you take something Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Bengal, that itself is big. And also the Eastern UP, that itself is a huge market, where currently the kind of, the CAGRs, still, they just go for improvement into that. So our first priority is our domestic market. The second is our neighboring countries. Because, at this point of time, we also have to be very realistic to say that, say after all, how do you expect somebody from US or Europe, come and study in India? Yes, it's all very nice to say that, yes, we want to become the Vishwagurus. But at the same time, we think that, we have to think realistically. So why should somebody come? Are you offering a better education to them? So at this point of time, first kind of our target market is India, surrounding kind of these thing areas into that. Number two is the neighboring countries. The neighboring countries could be something like you take Bangladesh, you take Nepal, you take something like some of these countries that are there, and also the Middle East. Middle East has got a fairly large Indian population that is there. So what we do is sort of from these sort of these things, yes, but typically we are looking at the students of the Indian origin. Already if you take some of our online certificate programs, some of them, already we made some inroads into that. Like we have got some Indian students doing our online programs from there, because there is no jurisdictional restriction. Thanks to the UGC, now with the online programs, they are doing it, online certificate programs. And maybe once you get the permission, we also will do some more online programs. And that is one way we believe that, yes, we can cut across the boundaries and get into that. And maybe in the second phase, we look at people coming from there to come and study physically our programs into that. So I thought those are our plans into that.
Thank you so much, sir. So my last question for you is, do you have any suggestion you would like to give it to the current youth and the aspiring students, be out of ICFI University or the other universities in general in India?
No, excellent. I think that is very timely, because right now the students are graduating, and a lot of students and parents they are at the crossroads. Sort of, iske baad kya karna hai? So there, in fact, unfortunately in India, we don't have some structured mechanisms to counsel the students. If you take in the developed countries, there are very structured mechanisms for counseling. There are professional agencies that do that, without, any bias into that. So my advice to the young students is, the first thing is, every student must kind of, understand himself or herself, and sort of understand what is the area of your interest. Sort of some students may have interest, in IT. Some students may have interest, in terms of languages. Some students may have interest, in technology. Some students have got interest in law. So there, the most fundamental thing for a student is the interest and passion. जुनून जो बोलते हैं ना, I think जुनून अहम चीज होती है. And unfortunately today what happens in India today, most of the students sort of they ask a classmate, अरे तुम क्या करना चाहते हैं? अरे is that important? And then there is some kind of a herd mentality or mob mentality. अरे मैं क्लासमेट जो कर रहा है मैं वही कर दूंगा. मैं क्लासमेट कौन से कॉलेज में जा रहा है मैं भी उसके साथ चलूंगा. The other kind of a syndrome what we find in India is parents. Parents say that एक बच्चे को ज्यादा parents I'm not saying it happens in the cities but particularly towns and villages parents को कुछ उम्मीद होते हैं and parent will say that आप बीटेक ही करना है. बच्चे लोग बोलते हैं नहीं बीटेक मुझे सारा इंटरेस्ट नहीं है मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा. नहीं अब तो बीटेक ही करना पड़ेगा. इसके बाद क्या होता है, he is forced to do kind of this thing and he doesn't have month and कुछ भी नहीं है. इसके बाद he doesn't do well and then after that we blame everybody. So इसी के वजह से my kind of most important advice for the students is हर बच्चे हमको समझना चाहिए this is my area of interest. And we have seen what we do is when our students join our kind of a college, our university, right on the first day we ask them, इसके बाद आप क्या करना चाहते हैं? Believe it or not, Mr. Arun Chaudhary, there are students that come and say that, sir, मैं actor बनना चाहता हूँ, cricketer बनना चाहता हूँ, ये करना चाहता हूँ. But sometimes what happens is, our hands are tied. वो तो बीटेक में एडमिशन ले आता नहीं तो बीसीए में एडमिशन ले आते इसके बाद वो तो क्रिकेटर बनना चाहते हैं and he wants to be something. So what we do in our university is so we can't discourage him, we can't discourage the parents. We try and build a career along the lines of interest for them. We tell them ठीक है अब तो सिर्फ बीसीए करना है इसके बाद how can you make use of technology for your own career of choice. ऐसी चीज, or somebody will say I want to become my own businessman into that. That is what we are able to navigate into that. Instead of that, in fact, another thing what we do is the students when they come for admissions and interviews, उसी समय हमारे बच्चों को हम तो सलाह देते हैं. We ask the same question. What is your area of interest? If you want to do engineering, how good are you in physics and mathematics? Physics and mathematics, if you are not strong, why should you do that? You can't do that at all into that. So इसी के वजह से that is one thing that is very, very important into that. Then the second thing is, like when they want to, in fact, I want to assure the students that history has shown that somebody can be very good, he can become successful in whatever field of study they study. It's not necessary all of them must study only the engineering, or all of them must study only one to that. We have seen there are huge opportunities coming in law. In fact, our BBA LLB law program and LLB law program, they are considered to be one of the best. We get very kind of meritorious and very smart students coming and taking the programs, and including our BBA BCA program. So that way you take any field of education, if they do well, if they do with kind of university sort of, when they study, they can make a very successful career in that. There's no doubt at all into that. That is number one. Number two is, the second decision point is where to study. इधर भी what happens is, ज़्यादा बच्चे होते हैं, hard mentality होते हैं. They say that, sort of मैं साकेली उधर जा रहा है, मैं भी उसके साथ चलूँगा. Instead of that, also sometimes what happens is, the students get kind of lured by certain things like, अरे हमारे पास इतना cricket stadium है, swimming pool is there, air conditioned classes are there. Sort of even a student must understand why the student going to a college to study, to get good quality education. If you have got something like cricket kind of a stadium, if you have got a swimming pool, are you going for that? Or a gymnasium if you are going there? So student must be clear, in fact our parents must be clear. मेरे बच्चों को इधर भेजना है किसके वास्ते? Good quality education. Easy getting good quality education. Good quality education माने curriculum. They must know the curriculum, what is happening in terms of the curriculum. And good quality faculty members. Good quality academic infrastructure. And good quality sort of pedagogy that is there. If you take BBA and MBA, case studies are they using or not? Are they using technology? अभी मान लीजिए now online classes चल रहे हैं. Online classes, every university is doing in their own way. Some universities they are simply sending PPTs. Some universities, जैसे हम बात कर रहे हैं, they are simply talking like this, and all the students cannot attend classes like this. Whereas our university we went with a blended mode. Blended mode में क्या होते हैं? What we do is, all the study material is there online. बच्चे लोग आपके सुविधा के अनुसार they can go through that. Then we run classes. These classes are all recorded and keep it there, so that irrespective of the bandwidth, wherever they are, they can study. Particularly during these days, they have to see what is the kind of a digital infrastructure that they have got, and digital kind of technology, how the university is using. मान लीजिए next semester मुझे लगता है it has to be online, going by whatever we are seeing. So this being they have to see what is the kind of a soft infrastructure. Technology infrastructure is more important than a pure physical infrastructure. I think that is what we got to do. And also another thing what they got to look at is soft skills. ज़्यादा बच्चे, if you leave aside the metros and top ranking kind of institution, for most of the students the problem and challenge is with regard to the communication skills. They can't speak properly at all. And we have seen it's not the kind of maybe kind of a marks what the students get when they get the job selections. It is the soft skills. So what is the focus of soft skills in the university and character building in the university? And also as far as the students are concerned, I recommend that students they must inculcate a hobby. ऐसा नहीं सिर्फ पढ़ाई तो एक चीज होती है. They need to build a holistic and all-round personality. That is what will help them in their professional and their own life. Because ultimately they have to be happy. पैसे तो कमाएंगे, इसके साथ ही साथ they have to be happy. So that way, the character building is very important for the students. along with the hobbies. These are my pieces of advice to them. And ultimately, the last thing is students have to work hard. ज्यादा बच्चों का मानना है अरे चलो यार, इनफैक्ट दे सी दी काइंड ऑफ मूवीज, हिंदी मूवी जैसा होते हैं ना, दे थिंक दैट अरे चलो हम तो एकदम बिकम लाखपति करोड़पति बन सकते हैं. So बगैर हार्ड वर्क there's nothing that comes easy in life, isn't it? So that is something, that is a value every student must know. But without hard work, nothing comes cheap. That's what.
Yes. So thank you so much, sir. That was really, really great, and that was very insightful. All your thoughts coming from a lot of 40 plus years of experience and the education that you have acquired throughout.
In fact, Mr. Chaudhary, let me tell you, I myself have come up like it. I'm telling you, I came from a middle class family, a lower middle class family from Andhra Pradesh, from a small town I came. And through sheer merit and hard work I came up. And because I was a topper in the kind of a school, I was one of the toppers in the state, and I got a merit scholarship. And otherwise, my father could not send me for engineering at all. He could not afford. And without going for a coaching center or something, I got a seat in IIT with a good rank. With the merit scholarship on IIT, I could go there. And then, IIT gave an opportunity not only for, a good quality education, but also in the all-round personality development. And all the credit goes to my parents for building my kind of character. And, the institutions where I have gone, they gave me the foundation into that. Because today what we are is because of that, And from there, yes, I had the opportunity, to go for the premier these things. And I was able to get into some premier kind of, organizations. And those organizations, they helped me, like HCL Technologies, where I worked, for something like 18 years. That was a foundation for me, for grooming me for all round into that, both India and abroad I worked. So that way, whatever lessons I learned from my own life, I believe that they are useful. My children have learned and they have come up that way, let me tell you. And हम बच्चों को हम तो जायदाद नहीं दे सकते हैं. जो बच्चों को दे सकते हैं, values we can gain, those values are important. Because whatever money you give, it will go away. That's all into that. If you give them good character and good values, that will be their lifelong. And another thing what I learned is, every one of us, we can't put a stop to learning. There is something called a lifelong learning. Let me tell you, every day I learn. When I talk to you, I learn. From my kind of our conversation, like I learned a lot of things from you. You are a good listener. Isn't it? You are a very patient listener, isn't it? These are certain things very important. After all, what I believe is in every minute, from everybody on the earth, we can learn at least one thing. Provided we got that inclination to learn. That is what I call as a lifelong learning. Learning money, not for a degree certificate, because this kind of a learning is important. These are my thoughts, Mr. Arjun.
So thank you so much. That was really insightful, and I do learn a lot from you.
Other thing I want to mention to you, Mr. Arun Chaudhary, is as for the ICFI University Jharkhand, we don't do a lot of publicity, but a lot of people may or may not know. Our CJ University, we are able to the kind of the type of students what we get. They are all students, they come from the middle class families, lower middle class families. Most of them are average and above average students. Our university has the distinction of converting or value adding average students and converting them into extraordinary graduates. Because I have gone to IITs. IITs, because I have a lot of respect for IITs and IIMs. But they get the kind of cream of the society. Whereas, we get the students, what we get, they are all the average students. Average students ko leke, we are able to convert them and value add them into extraordinary students. Today we take pride in saying that our alumni, they are working in organizations like a Google, sort of a Google, Microsoft, TCS, Infosys, like large organizations, very senior roles into that. And our students are working in TCS, working in cutting edge technologies like artificial intelligence. And our students are working in Google, doing a lot of work in the digital area into that. They are working, in the SBI, HDFC Bank, and Hero Motors, Mahindra and Mahindra, all over the engineering students. And that is something we take really pride in terms of that. So that is something that the students must know that, say after all, maybe, like, whether somebody is average or this thing into that, what is important is the value addition what we do. That is something they should know. The second thing is, like a lot of, independent agencies, they have ranked our university. As far as Jharkhand is concerned, we are among the top 3 private institutions. When we say private institutions, it includes like, IIT Mishra kind of institutions. And we are among the top 10 kind of, the kind of a top ranked institutions in the entire eastern region or eastern zone. Among the engineering colleges, we are among the top 100 engineering colleges in the entire country. These are certain things, sort of a lot of people may not know. Because a lot of people think that, yes, for a good quality education, you have to go to only sort of Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad, or Delhi. In the current situation, my kind of suggestion to a lot of students is, you may not run around everywhere. Locally, in your own region, you can have good quality institutions. Particularly like students in Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, all that entire eastern region. They need not go somewhere else. Today, in fact, maybe going to institutions like Pune or Mumbai is out of question, isn't it? The COVID is spreading so much into that. So that way, like in fact, locally, good institution like Equance Jharkhand is available. I think they should, I'm not forcing them, look at it, kind of evaluate that, in your own way. And before you take a decision, rather than taking a biased view that, अरे झारखंड में गुणवत्ता एजुकेशन नहीं मिलेगा. कुछ बच्चों का ऐसे कुछ भावना होते हैं, वो भावना को दूर करना पड़ेगा. I think they need to understand and see they are there available. Maybe 5 years back, 10 years back, that was not the case. But now, ऐसे गुणवत्ता एजुकेशन मौजूद हैं आपके बगल में. I think that is something special. Okay? So,
thank you so much for your time. That was really great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.